Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigeland Network show. My name is Emma Vigeland, and it's ESVN OT, baby, on a Wednesday. Well, that's because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so we can't do our typical Thursday show. We'll be in and out today, talking a bit about some NBA updates. Then we'll get into Zach Wilson being benched for Bradley's Jets. That's something. And then we will give our picks for the weekend. How you doing, Bradley? There he goes, rolling back. For people that don't know, he has to operate the soundboard, do the clips, and the commentary, so he's rolling around on his rolly chair all over the place.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve, everybody.
Yeah.
I can't wait to frequent my local watering hole back home and see all
my
see all my friends and foes and all in between from high school.
That's something I don't do anymore. Right, that you're a big internet
I'm a big shot now.
Since moving, my mom sold her house last summer, which is very sad to me because I grew up in that home. And, you know, the tradition of going to the bar in your town, like that's so foreign to me at this point. But it was fun for a little while. Like, see somebody from high school or from middle school that you had a crush on, like that kind of deal. It's so, well, you're engaged now, so
see my tormentors,
that fun
my
stuff
bullies, the haters and the jokers.
Oh, well, I guess it's like more of a retribution angle for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
always
have fun being the Punisher at your local bar in
I'm
Jersey.
always sizing people up. Like, where have you fallen?
Yeah. For you though, you're the co-host and producer of ESVN, so lead with that.
The most venerated sports programs on the whole World Wide Web.
Yeah, I mean that the one that Al Gore invented. That's right. What we say here at the
series
show.
of tubes.
So just quick NBA talk. Last night was a pretty notable game that I was interested in outside of like a Knicks game. Nets beat the Sixers, and Ben Simmons did not play terribly. I mean, he had
shot a few free throws.
He nearly had a triple-double if he had a few more rebounds. Did I say triple-double? Yeah, he nearly had a triple-double if he had a few more rebounds, but the Nets lost, and I mean, sorry, and he was kind of hearing it from the fans all night, but it seems like for his purposes, and the Nets are a mess, I understand this, but he's at least playing respectably.
No, I was actually a little bit more. I understood being a little bit more patient with the fact that this guy, you know, in pre all of the, you know, the yips that he experienced in the postseason and all of the controversy and drama and recrimination surrounding his play in those playoffs and then refusing to play in Philly, then getting traded and all that, is a three-time All-Star, a pretty great point-of-attack defender, and a guy who can really, really distribute the ball in a fast break and on transition. So for me, I was thinking if he could even potentially get back to like 65 to 70% of what he was, he would still be a really capable cog in the Nets machine for guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And I think we're getting there. Like, I think there are definitely signs of improvement and signs of encouragement in a very hostile, adverse environment. He sunk 2 free throws, which was like something that had been very difficult for him before. He was running the fast break. He put a dunk back at a kind of unconventional angle. Many things that seemingly people thought he was kind of scared to do or disinclined to do. So I think that bodes well. It's just tough because the Nets really have, I think, a decent way to go to dig out of this hole in terms of the optics side of things to make it so that the basketball actually becomes kind of the central focus again.
And I should say, I said that the Nets beat the Sixers, but then later I said the Sixers beat the Nets.
Yes, and the Sixers,
that's just me misspeaking.
And the Sixers did beat the Nets. Yes, correct.
The Nets.
Yeah. No, and so Yuta Watanabe was not playing last night, who I wanted to highlight, who was simply like very, I mean, he was kind of a bit player on the Toronto Raptors either last season or the season before. Found himself not on a team afterwards. Was signed to a partially guaranteed contract with the Nets, and has just been like one of the most accurate 3-point shooters over the course of the season so far. Just a very interesting and a kind of odd wrinkle. Very nice to see. He's like a shaggy young Japanese fella. He's very feisty. He likes to play. He plays hard on defense, even though he's not particularly skilled. But he's a great, fantastic, and accurate 3-point shooter. So I mean, there are things I think to look for encouragement with the Nets from the basketball side of things. It's more just like
Everything else.
They gotta get to everything else to kind of like tamp down a little bit, and also they actually just have to start winning these games.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the moral victories for them, it doesn't work in the same way as, say, if they were a rebuilding team. Like this is the time where
That's
moral victories are
not for this team.
You can't. That just cannot happen.
You're not rostering Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, and a supporting cast for moral victories, or to like have like. Or to lose to the Sixers by like 8 or 9 points. Like you want there to be so much more going on. So I think that's also why I say that there might be a little bit of a Sisyphean task for them to actually make it so that the basketball is the relevant, definer and signifier of the franchise going forward.
Right. So I mean, I think some glimmers of hope for them, because Ben Simmons then, he can use his skill set defensively and maybe come into his own once he has a bit more confidence. But, I still don't anticipate, despite the talent on that roster, it's just something is off with the Nets. And that something is just,
it's like hard.
The prima donna is kind of infecting the locker room to a degree, and Kyrie Irving and Durant to a lesser extent, where he's just mercurial about the entire organization. But Kyrie Irving's just being on a whole different level of distraction.
Yeah, it's just difficult to like slough off the reports and rumblings of Durant wanting a trade in the offseason unless general manager Sean Marks and now fired head coach Steve Nash were let go, only to not be able to find a trade partner for him because, frankly, I don't know what is equivalent value to trade for Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure any team could actually muster that, short of like a LeBron for KD trade or something like that. And even then, I don't think it's still the same. So... And then, of course, all of the Kyrie stuff, firing Nash ultimately, the Ime Udoka rumors. There's so much to sift through that has nothing to do with basketball. That makes it quite difficult to just like even consider the basketball and like the on-court product and the on-court or like and like sideline culture, so to speak.
Yeah, and we should just note too, in terms of like, the Nets dominate the headlines for the drama, but quietly, there's been a fun team in the NBA this year, and that's the Sacramento Kings.
Oh yeah, I meant to mention them last episode on Monday, but 7th straight win last night, beating the Grizzlies in a pretty hard fought victory. Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox going for like almost 60 points combined. Mm-hmm. Fox is looking like what. I think
what they drafted,
what people wanted him to look like coming out of school.
Another player that Knicks fans were in love with that the Knicks just didn't take.
They passed
draft.
on.
Yeah,
I think if you could basically just think about any young, dynamic, up and coming player with a high ceiling and just assume the Knicks did not draft them. Mm-hmm. Fox has looked so like the athleticism always jumped off the page, but it just never meshed entirely with the production. And now they both are kind of coming together. He's just been on an absolute heater during their winning streak, just like 25, 30 points a game, basically.
And they should say they didn't pass on him because they took Frank Ntilikina in that draft a little later, but they should have traded up. But sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
Fair enough. The point stands.
We're just engaging in facts here.
But Fox has looked really like basically looks like he's almost like hitting his stride and maybe getting to his ceiling as like a number one option, both in terms of like playmaking and scoring. Harrison Barnes has shown that he is, I would say, honestly, one of the more underrated players in the league. It's hard because he kind of got stashed away and kind of was one of the vestiges of the Warriors dynasty. Went on to a bad team with the Kings, but with some pretty consistent production. But now as like he's kind of one of the NBA archetypes that is like really valuable now, like a really rangy, lengthy wing who can drive and shoot. Mm-hmm. And so it's been great to see him playing really well too. And Sabonis, and honestly, now with that trade, it kind of looks like both the Pacers and the Kings actually kind of made off pretty well when it was a little harder to parse that when the trade happened for, Tyrese Halliburton going to the Pacers and Sabonis going to the Kings. Sabonis has been kind of like the center of gravity for for the offense and for the distribution there, and Halliburton is already kind of looking like a star, despite the Pacers just being a bad team.
Yeah,
but it's just been fun to see, and Mike Brown seems like a nice guy, and he's like having fun coaching a pretty rancid franchise, both in the short term and long term historically. So maybe there'll be some greener pastures for the Kings going forward when they haven't been, now that they currently hold the longest NBA playoff drought.
I mean, Sabonis is averaging over 11 rebounds a game and over 7 points a game as well. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I didn't realize that was the case, that he was he was that productive right now.
Oh yeah, no, he's really playing some of his best ball, and it's kind of just cool to see these young guys and see this assortment of players that was not particularly heralded coming into the year.
Yeah, all
kind of meshing, and also to see Keegan Murray, who they drafted in the first round of this year's draft, already playing at a really high level, defending well, making plays, using his length to disrupt. Like I wasn't admittedly, I was not super high on him in the draft when he was coming out of I think it was Iowa State or Iowa, one of the Iowa schools, but he's been really impressive to me so far. From the rookie class.
And Malik Monk's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And he was also a player that seems to be maybe coming into his own.
Yeah, played really well for the Lakers last year, and
hype. Yeah,
and now he's kind of coming as like a more consistent rotation / starting guy. I mean, he's playing quality minutes, whether it's on or off the bench. Funnily enough, Ja Morant went up to him before he was about to take 2 free throws to put them ahead last night and said, "You're gonna." He basically said, "Don't miss." And Monk made both of them, and then Morant went up for 3 free throws to tie the game and missed the first one, so they lost.
Oh my god!
Sorry, Ja, I love you, man. But
I mean,
you gotta back that up. Yeah, you gotta keep the same energy when you're at the stripe, dude. If you want to tell the other guy don't miss, you gotta not miss also.
Well, that's some NBA updates for you. Let's talk a bit about Bradley's Jets before we get into our picks, because
do we have to?
Big news. Sorry to tell you, but Zach Wilson benched.
It's the Mike White savior game, baby.
Oh, God. I mean,
let's go.
I don't know what to make of this. Let's actually hear what Robert Saleh had to say at his press conference today, after announcing this, because I'm quite conflicted on this. I know Zach Wilson has not played well, and I'm sure there are things we don't know from behind the scenes about how he's conducted himself and taken some of the struggles that the Jets have been experiencing and that he has been dealing with his poor play. I just don't know if this is how you handle a young quarterback that you still see potential in. But the question is, do they still see potential in him? This is the line that Saleh was trying to toe in his press conference today.
What does this mean for Zach as we go forward?
Yeah, so the big thing I want to make sure I address on this one, just want to make sure you guys all listen to this very carefully, please. Zach's career here is not over. I know that's going to be the narrative. I know that's what everybody wants to shout out, and that's not even close to the case. The intent, the full intent, is to make sure Zach gets back on the football field at some point this year. When that is, I'll make that decision. I'm going to take it day to day. The biggest thing with Zach, and the same things that we've talked about, is the young man needs a reset. His decision-making's been fine, his practice habits, all that stuff have been fine, but there's some basic fundamental things that have gotten really out of whack for him. And this is just an opportunity for him to sit back, focus on those things, find a way to get reconnect to all the different things that we fell in love with during the draft process. And it's something that I feel like he's going to be able to do. I think to ask him to do all those things while preparing for a game is unfair. But at the same time, it's something, just talking with Zach, that I think we're all excited to attack. And this is, like I said, is it a small step back? Absolutely, for him. But do I think it's going to be a great leap forward when he does get a chance to reset himself? Absolutely. And so this is not putting a nail in his coffin. This is not that. It's not even close to that. But I do believe at the end of this is going to be a rejuvenated, renewed young man that once he reconnects to all the different things that we're trying to reconnect to, he's going to show why he was the second pick.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the mentality, the thinking behind that. It does make sense in a vacuum, and that's something that I think a lot of more old school coaches would consider. But given the draft capital invested in Zach Wilson, given his clear physical ability that exceeds that of Mike White, let's be real.
Did you watch that Bengals game last season, Emma?
I know Mike White mania took over New York for a little bit. I mean, I don't get what it is. Like Jets fans just always want to root for the underdog on their team.
Well, because there hasn't been a good quarterback since Joe Namath. So I
Yeah,
think
because
there's
having
really-
an overdog is so foreign to
Yeah,
you.
there's no. Yeah, I'm trying to overstand the overdog.
But I just feel like this is a bit of a short leash for a team that has a winning record and that the starting quarterback has a winning record.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily like feel it necessary to bench the guy.
I'm
I think.
concerned what this does for his confidence.
Yeah, because I'm sure his confidence is. But well, my only concern is I think I'm wondering if his Salah in another part of his remarks did mention that there was some. I don't know if he said mild or little. It was something along the lines of there was some mild irritation in the locker room regarding Wilson's
Yes.
comments. So.
Meaning that it was more than mild,
Right.
and that's
to
what
even
he's saying
right
publicly.
to even publicly say it probably belies more than what he wants to let on to. He's not going to be like all of these guys were really pissed off at Zach to the media, but for him to even like acknowledge it like that makes me feel like there was a little bit more consternation than anyone was willing to publicly say. I wonder if that had anything to do with even feeling like he needs to kind of like actually, if he wants the starting job, he not only has to play better on the field, but also like take accountability as a leader of the team. Because when you are the number 2 pick for this franchise from only 2 seasons ago, and you are the starting quarterback, and there are expectations on you in this media market, that's kind of what you have to be. You can't shy away from that. So I'm speculating. I have no idea, obviously. I'm just curious if that had anything to do with it. And
I'm sure it was primarily what it is.
And
Because
this-
in terms of potential, we know who.
No,
the
of course,
quarterback
you're
is.
not- you're
he
not-
has a better arm than Mike White.
oh my God, yeah. Mike White is a placeholder, and Mike White is a game manager. That's what you would put a guy like that in
Yeah.
for.
So this has to be in a sense like he's not seeing the field right, and he needs to be taught a lesson.
That's I think kind of what I'm hearing from those remarks a little bit, but I don't see this. If I had to guess, regardless of outcome, they're playing tomorrow?
No, they're
Or
not.
they're playing Sunday?
It's playing Sunday. Yeah.
I think Zach will, barring like an injury in practice or something, I think he will be starting the week after. I don't expect this to
But
be
he says at
a long-
some point this season is what he said.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy it. It would seem strange unless Mike White plays really well, unless he plays like out of his mind, unless there's
But
like
they
a repeat
probably
of the
will
Bengals
beat
game.
the Bears. So this
But if
is,
they beat them, for example, if they beat them 7-3, for example, if they beat them 3-0 or something like that, I don't know if then Salah would have a real leg to stand on to be like, we like what we saw from him. We're going to go with him instead of Zach.
So here's like a few observations I have from this. One is him being vague about the timeline makes me concerned that it's not just a one game
No,
sit.
that's fair because
Two.
we saw what happened with the Colts. I have a different situation, but I mean him being like the rest of the season as opposed to like week 3 or week
Yeah.
se-
Well, and
7
then
or 8.
but then new coach comes
Yes,
in and
right,
Matt Ryan's
then-
back. But 2 is part of this is on Saleh. Like part of this media kind of hullabaloo, whatever, is because Saleh has not done a good job of controlling his players, speaking to the media. Like, he's not put a tight lid on things. Other organizations, you wouldn't hear any of this crap with the quarterback playing badly. Like, Garrett Wilson's chatting. You got Sauce Gardner liking tweets. The rookies,
Well, and
the
I was
young
gonna say they're like
guys-
rookies. They're like literally, they're not even
not
like
even
seasoned
the veterans.
vets.
The vet of the group is Quinnen Williams going
Who
out
is-
and supporting Zach
Yeah,
Wilson.
who was doing the odds-on like right thing for the team, regardless of whether he himself is frustrated.
And so I know that guys
Bless
like
you, by the
playing
way.
for Robert Saleh because he is a pro players coach, and I really like that about him. But he has to understand what he's dealing with here. This is not we're not playing in Tennessee. This is New York, and the media market is ravenous. And so Zach Wilson not starting this week, it's gonna be a huge problem.
And I mean, on one hand, I think it goes to show that I think these young guys definitely actually have like a real voice / they have some influence in the locker room, to feel that they are confident enough to say those things to reporters. But I see what you're saying in the sense that there are certain things in sports where I feel like if a narrative is out there to the media, either if it's from what is gleaned or what is extracted from press conference remarks or what's being leaked or what unnamed sources are saying, these things can sometimes become self-fulfilling prophecies. If everyone is saying the Jets have a culture problem and the Jets have if there's a little bit of stink in the locker room because of what went down that game and how Zach Wilson's post-game remarks rubbed certain players the wrong way, it kind of ultimately doesn't really matter whether it's true or not if everyone thinks it's true. There are many moments when certain things like this, where there are optic issues and there are issues that kind of stem beyond what's on the field, that perception is reality. So I definitely, and especially in the New York media market, perception is reality. If this is what's being reported out, if this is what people are talking about, it's very hard to put the cat back in the bag. Saleh can't just go out and be like, no. What Garrett Wilson didn't say that. Sauce Gardner didn't like that. Like, Zach didn't say that. Like, things are fine. It's like, if enough people don't think things are fine, things are probably not fine.
And the last thing I'll say about this before we get to our picks is that there's also a different incentive for Robert Saleh than other coaches who are dealing maybe with quarterbacks who are still developing, because the team is further along than the quarterback.
Yeah,
and you
definitely.
are dealing with
it's a weird situation like
an
that.
impatient owner who
Totally
wants the Jets in the playoffs. So they're
100%.
They're in a situation, both the GM and Saleh, who Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, where they have to win. Like, they might feel like their asses are a little hotter than other teams dealing with developing quarterbacks.
Because this is kind of what I was trying to get to when we were talking. We were comparing, Jets Patriots versus Giants Lions. Is that the Lions have actually been playing decently well, and just in terms of where we're kind of comparing opponents, comparing the two New York teams. But I feel worse about the Jets only because they've been determinative in making sure that they were farther along in their process on both sides of the ball to buttress the young quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, the spending already happened. The drafts already happened. Like, this is the team that they wanted out there.
And the quarterback's just not there yet.
And so like you said, the fact that they're on separate planes where the quarterback is and where the rest of the team is, if you put this Jets team behind a better quarterback, I bet that's kind of what Chris and Woody Johnson are thinking, is like, there's a level of probably impatience and kind of tension of being like, we could probably be better or much better if just Zach was better.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, that's going to land, like you said, that's going to land on the people who are behind the personnel and the people who are calling the plays.
Even if, maybe this coming from BYU, maybe this guy needs a little more time. Maybe
100%.
he needs to grow up a little bit. But the team is not in a spot, according to like ownership's expectations, where that can be allowed. Is my guess. And so that's what creates the situation and why it's, despite having a winning record as a starter this year, Zach Wilson is benched. So it
really makes me wish we drafted Justin Fields.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing about Zach Wilson too, and we'll get into this at another point, but I'm becoming. I was less bullish on size being important for the quarterback, but as I see how Russell Wilson can't see over the line, you see Kyler Murray struggle.
And as we were discussing with the emphasis on the sideline balls versus over the middle or between the numbers.
When you can't see over the middle of the line, it makes it difficult, right?
Your actual options in terms of what you can do with the offense are more limited, and it's more difficult.
You have to be able to throw from the pocket to be 100%. An elite quarterback in this
and
league.
all over the field. It can't just be one. It can't just be one area. It
Yeah.
has to be more nuanced than that, especially with how these defenses are playing now.
Yep. Yeah, and they've kind of figured out how to handle some of those guys who are smaller and might be on boots or coming outside of the pocket. But that does take half the field away when you're
100%.
rolling out to your right side, unless you're a freak. And Zach Wilson does have the ability to overcome that with his arm talent if he understands how to play the game a little bit better.
Yes, I agree. I just think perhaps this might serve as some sort of wake up call for him, but we'll see. Well, that remains to be seen.
But I am more
and we'll
pessimistic about his size affecting it than I was him coming out of the draft,
which I think is fair,
with more data coming in.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our picks now. And Dan from the internet setting us up. Boom. ESVN
Stone Cold Lock of the Century. All the week.
Ooh, baby! All right, well, last week was not a good one for either of us, but a better one for me, because I finally got one up on Bradley. Despite having a losing record this year with some of these picks, Jesus, the NFL is a lot harder than any other league to bet on, I swear to you. I do it sometimes. The NHL, I can make some money on that. The NFL, it's like you have no idea what is going to happen on a weekly basis. But this, I was able to get the Titans pick correct on Thursday Night Football. Then the Giants falling apart, bad for both myself and Bradley. Eagles -7. I knew I should have stuck with Carolina +13. That would have covered. That was my first instinct. Oh well, didn't do so. But Bradley did not win once this week, and it's because he screwed himself with the Jets heat check.
I'm Icarus.
Yeah.
I flew too close to the sun.
Well, we'll see if we can redeem ourselves.
And really embarrassing fashion for all three games. Like the Jets losing on a walk-off punt return touchdown first in the season. The Giants getting the doors blown off them by the Lions and not being able to score as much on the Lions.
Roster
yes,
in the
and then
process.
also being more injury ravaged than they were to entering the game, and then the Vikings just getting demolished by the Cowboys.
Yeah, it is. Rough one. Rough week all around, but I'm glad
We're
to at
bouncing
least
back.
be
It's a rebound.
crawling back and chipping into your picks.
No.
This week, I saw some
Stop
of
the
your
count.
picks, and I like them, so that's unfortunate for me.
Well,
But
I feel like you've liked your picks and it hasn't worked out that well for you so far.
yeah, so that's yikes. How did I just take that right there? Well,
Gonna get fired.
I don't like my picks, so now look what's going to happen this week. All right, let's put up our picks for this week here. So, Thanksgiving edition, baby. And I think both of us are picking at least one game each, actually, on Thanksgiving. We've got some really fun games, honestly. Better than they looked to start the year, given how the Giants have been good, and the Vikings have had such success. And the fact that the Lions are on
Emma.
oh yeah, I decided to be a little cute with
Look
it.
what you did with the place, with the slideshow.
So NFL Week 12, Thanksgiving week, we're both picking from two of the games, not the Bills Lions game, which had, I think, around a 10-point spread, 9.5 point spread as well.
I'm good.
I just I almost wanted to take the Bills, but it feels like the Lions can backdoor cover pretty easily, and they've been doing that. So I was just like, I don't want to touch it.
No.
I'm going to start with going back to the well with the Giants. 10 points just feels too large for me with a divisional opponent. When divisional opponents, they tend to play close. I'm saying this understanding that my heart might get broken. The Cowboys, I think, are very likely to win this game. I would be very shocked if the Giants win on Thursday. Let me just say that. But I do think that they're going to take some information from the Week 3 loss against Dallas, try to exploit some of the weaknesses on the team. And the Giants do have the ability now to beef up on their offensive line and maybe put extra blockers in there, which I saw they did against the Texans in order to negate some of their strengths. I think that might be able to help the Giants against the very speedy pass rush and just quick defense on that side of the ball for the Dallas Cowboys, so that the Giants might be able to impose their will in the run game a little bit more than they were able to do in against Detroit.
I think this offense can bounce back, and also it's a big spread. Like
It's too big.
I think with the way the Giants have been coached on offense and the ingenuity and the creativity they've shown, and especially having a rough week the week before, I could see it being a little bit of a bounce back for them. While I do probably agree with you, I don't really think they'll win. I don't think they'll win this game. I think they can definitely cover.
It's just, I think the Giants coaching staff is smarter than that of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, and I mean
the Dallas Cowboys
agreed.
certainly have more talent, but the Giants have shown that they've
been able to beat teams with more talent.
They pretty much go into every game with the right game plan, and they're aggressive and creative. And Wink Martindale has the ability to throw even the better quarterbacks off with some of his creative blitzes. And people have short memories. I saw that the line started at around -7, which is probably a bit closer than to what it actually should be. But it moved really quickly because of the blowout victory in Minnesota. And I think people have sometimes short memories about these things. The Cowboys just lost in Green Bay, and Green Bay lost to the Giants. They
transitive property.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. But my point is just that Green Bay clearly has less talent than the Dallas Cowboys do, and so I just think of all of the two big point spreads on Thanksgiving. Detroit being around very similar point spread to that of New York. I trust the Giants to cover more than I do, and there's no obligation that we pick the Thanksgiving game, but it seemed like a too big of a spread.
Yeah.
So now you're picking the Pats +2.5 in Minnesota. I like this pick by you.
I'm a little sour, but I'm doing what I have to do, which is bet for the Patriots and against the Vikings. I've been burned by these teams too many times that I have to. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
I like this line because I think it's close enough. I don't think it'll be a blowout either way. I obviously could be mistaken, but it just doesn't seem like either team really. That's not usually what happens when these teams play. The Pats have maybe one of, if not the best defense in the league or in the conference. They've just been playing really, really sound defense. Great pass rush. They've been, guys like Devon Godchall, like just kind of guys like, Christian Barmore, Kyle Duggar. These guys have just been playing really, really sound football. And
probably best defense in the NFL right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Belichick and the defensive coaching staff just really know how to get the most out of these guys, regardless of pedigree. And they, I think, can really keep them in this game, even if the offense struggles. But I think if the Pats can get back more to what has really been working for them, which is the run game, if they can get more out of Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, if they can stick to that more, especially if Mac Jones continues to struggle, I think they can stay in it. And I think, honestly, this is not even to necessarily think that the Cowboys loss just wipes the slate clean for the Vikings. I still think the Vikings will be competitive. I just think this defense can disrupt Kirk Cousins's consistency and flow of the game, which can really get him off track.
And it's in prime time.
And it's in prime
time,
which
is a real thing. At a certain point,
you collect enough data points. I talk about data. You collect enough data points, and at some point, you have to look at a trend, right?
Yeah.
So my thinking is, all of those factors could make this a decent pick. And we'll see if the Pats offense can hold up, and we'll see if they can get past the Vikings defense, which has been good, they've been capable, and they've been pretty. I would say they haven't been one like top tier, but they've been good enough to keep them in games. I just think it's more a matter of the Pats defense getting over on the Vikings offense.
Yeah, I like this pick by you. I almost went with it myself, but I got a little bit scared, just given the way that the offense has been a little one-dimensional for the Patriots. And so, but if I were to bet right now, I would bet Patriots money line. So the covering seems definitely within the realm of possibility. Yeah. Patriots are playing well, frankly. And it was misleading, that score against the Jets, because of the wind. They missed a bunch of field goals, and there would have
been a larger deficit if not for the wind, probably.
Yeah, right. So my next pick is Tampa Bay -3.5 in Cleveland. Now, the spread of having that half point there scares me a little bit, but I just feel like Cleveland has fallen apart pretty much in every game this year. They get off to
It's almost like the
decent
Lions.
start. Yeah, but
It's
the
the
Lions have
defense.
turned it around.
But it's in the sense of right, but in the sense maybe like the dynamic of like
early first week Lions where they get off to a hot start and then
like,
they fall apart.
Because surprisingly, the Browns' offense has been the high point for the team. I think going in, they thought it was going to be the defense, but the defense has not been playing well.
They have one player right now that's actually playing well, and that's Myles
Right,
Garrett.
it's basically
Denzel
Garrett.
Ward's had a bad year, even though he just got that contract extension
right.
and has had some success before. So they
But they're
really
just
don't
not-
have the pieces to keep up with the Bucs here.
Like it's almost, I would imagine it's also probably pretty frustrating for this Browns coaching staff and front office that like, of course, with all the Deshaun Watson shit hanging over them, the fact that he's not playing, still getting a good offensive performance week after week with their run game, with their offensive line that they invested a lot in, as well as Jacoby Brissett playing like pretty admirable football for the position that he's been thrust into, only for the defense to be the side that's letting them down in these games.
Yeah, and it seems like what's odd about I don't have the data to back this up, so this is just my memory of watching them a bit. It seems like they just get away from the run game way too much in Cleveland.
Yep.
And that is their
100%.
strength.
If you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and then Wyatt Teller, Batonio, and Jedrick Wills on the line, what should you be doing besides pounding the rock down the other team's throat, basically?
Yeah. So I just basically see it maybe being a close game in the first half and then the Bucs just pulling away. And Brady's coming off a bye.
Yep.
Brady
He's
is
rested.
coming off
the
a
team's
bye.
rested.
By the way, saw him in Brooklyn. He was hanging out in Brooklyn last weekend, Tom Brady.
Did you see him in
by my
person?
old neighborhood? No, I didn't.
Oh,
see him.
okay. Oh my
but
gosh.
like a business, in Brooklyn posted. A photo with him, and I
God,
was
that's
like,
so funny. Was he with Sam Bankman-Fried?
he was not. That guy might be laying low a little bit. So
Moving to the Maldives, maybe.
yeah.
Good. Hey, okay, Google. Where does the U.S. not have extradition agreements with?
He's got to move out of the Bahamas compound that he's been in into maybe somewhere a little more
little more incognito.
exotic and
Yeah,
low-key
yeah.
at the same time. So what's your second pick here?
Oh, sorry.
This is another pick I love by you. I'm just God damn it.
my team. I've been a fan since day one. I've been this is my squad, the Tennessee Titans. I feel like
I miswrote this. It's plus.
Oh yeah, sorry. I believe
two.
it's plus 2. Yeah.
Let me change that.
Oh yeah, no worries. Hold on one second. I'll refresh it once I.
Yeah. That was my bad.
No worries. Yeah. So it's the Titans plus 2 over the Bengals. And this isn't really even a knock on the Bengals necessarily, only because like the Bengals have honestly, I think they've been consistently playing better. They had a pretty good showing against the Steelers, despite still missing Chase, still getting inconsistent line play. I really do think when they are able to connect all the dots, they still will be a pretty good team and going into the postseason even.
I just
however,
fixed it so you can bring it.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, my thinking is I do still think this Titans team is being a little underestimated. I think the defense is really good. I think they're really good against the run. I think their secondary, despite being a little banged up, has held up pretty admirably. And I just think if they can it's kind of similar to the Browns, if they can just get back to what they, not necessarily get back, but just kind of emphasize what works for them, which is just using your cyborg running back to just blister opposing defenses while also just sprinkling in smart play action stuff, and which is what they do very capably with Ryan Tannehill. I really think they have a chance in this game. And it's really not a knock against the Bengals. I just genuinely do think that once the Bengals connect everything, they're going to be a kind of a sneaky team in the playoffs. And as we've said before, I just think Lou Anarumo is an amazing defensive coordinator. He's just gotten so much out of those guys, and it's kind of an interesting, fun year for like chaotic defensive coordinators like Wink Martindale, Steve Spagnuolo, Vance Joseph, Lou Anarumo, like guys who just like to just like fuck around and just do crazy shit.
Wink Martindale.
That just catch people off guard, that they just like don't really know what they're going to see next. So
I mean, Belichick's the master of that.
What'd you say?
Belichick's the master.
Oh yes, of course.
That.
And then Belichick himself, honestly,
Yeah.
And so all that is to say is like, as much as I have a lot of good things to say about the Bengals, I'm just not sleeping on the Titans here. So I think they can pull it out plus 2.
I mean, the Titans never go into a game where they are outcoached. Never. Never. I mean, they are always ready to go.
No, Vrabel truly is one of like the best coaches in the league, like bar
100%.
none. Like
he should get Coach of the Year consideration.
100%. I agree. I totally agree. I think he
again. I mean, didn't he get it already?
Maybe I think he has before. I think he had
Yeah.
maybe first season in Tennessee or second season when they had the Ravens playoff win.
Yeah.
I think maybe he got Coach of the Year.
No, he won. He was named the Coach of the Year. Was it last year? God. We're really Mike Francesca. God, I can never say it.
Look it up. When did he win Coach of the Year?
So
Give me a diagram.
yeah, he won last year.
Oh, it was last year. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. I didn't even realize it was so recent.
He should win it. He could win it back to back. It's him or Pete Carroll, or Dable, in my opinion. But the Giants are about to fall off from that injury. bug.
Yeah. And honestly, if they can even have a 500 record or like, I mean, which I think they will. I just mean even if it's a, I'm saying basically if it's a positive record and a playoff appearance potentially, I just think it's hard not to take rookie head coach, a lot of odds stacked against him, expectations versus reality. I still think he's a really good shot at it.
Yeah. All right, my last and final pick here, and I went back and forth. This is what I do. I feel good about two, and like now I'm looking at Bradley's, and I like both of them, so now I'm feeling less good about mine. But I have the San Francisco 49ers winning by at least 10 points, -9.5, against New Orleans at home. New Orleans has been pretty bad against the spread this year. I know this is a bigger spread, but I feel like that game in Mexico City was a moment where the San Francisco 49ers begin to get their groove back, and they're starting to click at this point. The Niners are, outside of the Eagles in the NFC, the most talented roster in the NFC, and they just have to put it together. And if Kyle Shanahan is kind of finding his groove with play calling, I do think that they can cover at that point.
Yeah, and even with the Saints winning last week, I'm just like I've been saying this I think every week basically. I just like the Saints to me are kind of a mess, and I just think fortunately I think with the win it made that Eagles pick go down pretty significantly.
Yeah.
I think it's out of the top 5 now, which I'm sure is a big sigh of relief for Saints fans. But I just think I think these are two teams going in definitely opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Niners are definitely, even though I think that it wasn't there wasn't a whole lot to take away like super positively, I'd say, for the Niners in Mexico City. Despite, I mean, I think
Just
the
opponent was very inferior.
Yeah, and all, but also, I mean, I think there were a few good things, like seeing Jimmy scramble, seeing Kittle get some good yak in that touchdown run. Ayuk had a nice touchdown run. I just think this team is gearing up for the stretch.
Well, now
so
they're getting all three of those guys involved.
Yes, and
McCaffrey.
I just think it's a real speed assault for them right now. So
yeah,
I don't think this one will be close.
And the one I was considering was the Bears versus the Jets, but with Justin Fields being banged up and his status being up in the air, I can't make that call on Wednesday when the game's on Sunday.
It could be a Trevor Siemian Mike White matchup.
Yeah, it could be.
So we'll see.
Right.
So it'd be hard to really feel good about any of those odds.
Yeah. All right, your final pick here, Bradley.
And then, but going back to my squads, Seahawks -3.5 over the against the Raiders, and I know the Hawks, I think, have got kind of cooled off a little bit from like the Geno Smith God era of the first half of the season, but I still think that this team has some juice left. I still think they're going to be well coached. I still think that Geno's not going to make that many mistakes. I still think that if the defense can hold up a little bit, if they can not regress again, this Raiders team is even despite beating the Broncos twice, not a huge feather in their cap to begin with. I just kind of think they're in free fall.
Yeah.
I think this is a little bit of a disaster moment for them, and I can't really see them picking this one up.
Well, if you watch this game closely, you can scout the quarterback that you're going to be starting in New York.
Oh yeah.
Next
Derek
year.
Carr for Zach Wilson. Who says no, guys? Come on. I mean, 1 for 1, straight up.
I really think it's a real possibility.
Oh my God, Zach Wilson! And Zach Wilson is his alabaster bleach blonde Dennis the Menace ass in a jet black uniform in the middle of the desert.
really, just I mean, his.
Oh my god, I fucking love it.
It's gonna clash even worse than like Andy Dalton with
Yeah,
that
with-
Saints with that Saints
the brown,
uniform.
yeah.
And black and gold, and then orange hair
his
and
shock
beard.
of ginger hairs.
Whoa! Although,
we should think
what
about
a
that.
great
We
beard
should
and
like
hair.
power rank like hair color to uniform disparities.
Yeah, just like which quarterback looks coolest in their uniform.
and looks like kind of the wackest, kind of the corniest. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, I mean,
Well,
we all know who wins that.
we know.
It's Russ.
In the color rush uniforms, they were all orange with the big D on the helmet.
Hmm.
Let's ride.
Let's ride to
we
Clown
had to get
Town.
guys. It's Thanksgiving. We had to give thanks to our
Thank you,
the
our
people on
content
to the
king.
people on our nemesis list who are just keeping the beating heart of this channel.
One I am, and then we're just gonna head out. Ray said, "You need to mention who didn't play with the Sixers. Embiid, Maxey, and Harden were all out, and the Nets lost."
Oh yes, good. I
We
did
should
mean to
have
say
said
that. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I meant to qualify that. There were a few big big people not playing in that game.
Yeah, we're just we're trying to get out of here for Thanksgiving, so we're missing some details.
But
folks.
which is a great point in the sense of like also contextualizing who beat the Nets last night. You
Right.
know, also.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks. That's all. That's it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the games. Enjoy avoiding your families.
Yes.
Enjoy
Hopefully
getting
you're able to
drunk.
get off work.
Sleeping at 2 p.m. After dinner.
Yeah, Bradley's just saying what he does.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. I'm projecting all of my. Oh yeah, everyone's like me.
Yeah, all right. But we will be sickos, I'm sure, both of us texting back and forth about the football games.
Yeah, just like yeah. Oh yeah, I'll tell you about my job, my fiance's aunt or something. As I'm like, oh shit, I should have taken the points there.
Yeah, right.
Fuck.
All right, guys. Peace.
Bye
Appreciate
guys.
you
Happy
all. See you on
Thanksgiving.
Monday.
Enjoy the games.